Hello, my name is Michael Parker, and welcome to the third episode of Antidote, the show that introduces you to the people you need to know and the stories you need to hear in the 21st century. And what could be more 21st century than a manned mission to Mars? The only catch? It's one way. Today we'll be meeting a young woman who may be one of the first settlers on the Red Planet. Her name is Jaymee Del Rosario. Jaymee, welcome to the show.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me here today.
We're glad you could come. Before we start talking about the Mars One project, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
Well, I am from Long Beach, California. I was born in Philippines, and I actually have 3 older brothers, siblings, and raised by a single parent, my mom. And when my mom had passed away, we moved here in the United States to live with my dad in 1998. And since then, I've been I have my company here, and from there on, I just kind of live my life here in the United States.
Well, that's good. Tell me this, you mentioned your company. I mean, you are a successful entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You have 2 companies, one of which deals in, I guess, exotic metals and alloys for aerospace materials.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I actually started the company in 2009, which is International Metal Source. We distribute raw material metals to aerospace, space, defense, and commercial worldwide. And we deal with all the top private companies out there, including SpaceX and in defense, Lockheed Martin. And I started that in 2009. So we're still ongoing with the whole project. Yeah.
How did you get involved with that? Because I mean, that is a sophisticated idea, and metals and commodities, I mean, they don't come cheap. How did you get involved in that?
Well, I started, so if you let me elaborate about it, it's like a long, path of when I started. I started in when I graduated high school. I actually I was going through a financial hardship because of my dad he went back home to the Philippines. So out of like 18 years old, I'm like out of high school, and I'm like, hey, whether I go to college or not, or just start working. So I started working, multitasking different jobs, and I worked in a restaurant industry, health industry, and then fortunately I ended up taking on a 3rd job, which is distributing raw materials. But I didn't start as in sales. I started as accounting because of all the experience that I gathered throughout my career. And when I started working at the distributing company for my previous employer, I started learning how to, basically the knowledge of the raw materials and also the business, because I'm surrounded with like brilliant coworkers, engineers, and leaders. And so from there on, 2009, they were like, hey, let's promote her. So I went to sales, and I built relationship from suppliers to customer base. And then 2009, when the economy went down for a little bit, I started my own company from scratch. And I was able to get certified, get government contracts from, again, like aerospace, space, defense, and now have 6 employees and a great standing company. That's excellent.
Did you always have an aerospace interest? I mean, were you?
Well, no, like my family didn't have the background of aerospace. My mom was she has an accounting degree, and then my dad had some type of civil engineer degree, but in Philippines. But he didn't pursue it. They didn't continue on with it. But I do have my brother and my cousin that worked for like Philippine Marine and U.S. Coast Guard, so some type of defense. And I've always been fascinated about like, hey, like this is something, working for the government, working for defense and aerospace. It's a life-changing career, you have a goal, and it's pretty amazing being that, just voluntarily working for them and being a hero. It's always been fascinated with that.
Well, speaking of being a hero, there are a lot of people who would look at the Mars One project, and it's a bold idea, it's a big idea, and here on this show we love big and bold ideas. But how did you hear about Mars One first and become interested in it?
Well, I heard I heard about it, this is 2013 when they
Right.
opened up the application process, and my business partner that actually worked with him, he was a previous employer too where I worked at, previous coworker, he was a coworker in a previous employer job, and he's the one who told me about it. He's always been a sci-fi fanatic, and he said, hey, why not apply for this? You know, we're basically working for the aerospace industry in space. We're there, so why not? And then so I researched it. I'm like, hey, you know, like I'll look at it. I'll look into it. And then as further I researched into it, and I saw the mission and the goal that they're trying to create and they're trying to accomplish, I realized that this is a life-changing opportunity for any human being out there. And you know, this private company is actually trying to change the world and changing the whole way we think about pushing through the limit and pushing through the boundaries of what humanity can overcome. And also with the progressing capabilities and technologies out there, this company is pushing that boundary, and they're trying to, you know, accomplish something that nobody had accomplished before.
Agreed.
And I really like it. That's why I signed up. And
well, I think a lot of people would say you're very courageous and innovative. And one of the things that I thought was interesting when I was looking at some of your videos explaining why you should go and what you do, one of the things that crossed my mind is like, well, wait a minute. You mention in your video the finite resources and raw materials that are here on planet Earth, and you are in that business. So are you a prospector? Is that your primary reason?
well, Michael, that's a really great, thank you for bringing that up. That's one of the reasons. That's not one of the primary, but that's one of my reasons. And if I can clarify more on it, yes, I'm talking from an experience of distributing raw materials to the industry of where they need it. And I see as our technology progresses and as we advance, we use more and more rare materials, minerals out there that, you know, that is valuable to living, to our Earth, and to what, like, we use it for our phones, we use it for computers, we use it for everything else. Like, it's not like back in the 1800s, 1900s, like you only use iron and steel, but now we're used more and more different rare, raw, exotic material metals. And, you know, I mean, mining is not gonna be infinite. There's gonna be a finite, you know, it's not unlimited.
Right.
And one day, we're gonna be vulnerable. And now is the time to space explore and find out what we can explore out there and discover. And by discovering rare materials in another planet and maybe finding a breakthrough of something that we can use for Earth, why not? Why not, you know, if we have that capability? So that's what I feel like. And I have 3 other reasons why I want to go to Mars. And another one is preserving humanity. I mean, this goes back to the first one. It's like, hey, if we overuse all our rare materials, and also if something happens, I mean, I don't want to sound negative, but I can walk out of this door right now and something can happen to me.
Sure.
It can happen to our sleep, and a backup plan. So that's why another reason why I go, preserving the humanity here on Earth, and the future generations to come. And the third reason why I want to go is I feel that us human beings have the awareness, and we have that knowledge, that awareness of time and death, awareness and capability of doing things. And I feel that we owe this to not only just preserving humanity, but to other species here on Earth.
That's an interesting point.
And you know, we have that. I mean, we can move. We can fix things. We have emotion. You know, we're emotionally there and mentally and capable. So
I think without a doubt, mankind inherently has to explore. We have to pioneer. We have to sail oceans, whether it be water or space. You want to do that. Let's talk about the trip itself. Now, from what I understand, if you are chosen, and you know what, let me back up a little bit. Where are you in the training and selection process right now? I know that you are one of the 100 chosen from the initial batch of 200,000. Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you.
That's very impressive. Okay, so out of those 100, am I
Yes.
correct to assume that it will then be drawn down to 24?
Yes, down 24 to 15. You know, they don't have a set number yet, but what we know right now is down to 24 people. So I'm one of the 100 candidate, and we're in a third round right now. And the next round will basically be about how we are as a group. How can we get along? I mean, that's the real question here. I mean, if we really think about, we can learn things. We know the basics we know the basic knowledge about Mars. We can learn things. And we have a 7 years training that's coming up down to those 24 people if they get chosen. But the real question is, the key is how you are as a person. How can you, like, it's not the living Earth part or getting to Mars. I mean, you leave it like, oh, I left, and then you get there, like, I'm excited. But that 7 months in the middle of nowhere, that's the real key. How can you support one another? So that is what we're going to be training on, and getting to know one another, getting to know, you know, what, does she like hair? Does she not like hair? Does she like the smell? Does she not like the smell?
Right.
Because that's the most vital information that you need to know from one another, especially not only the 7 months transit, but when you get there, you're going to live together, 4 people at a time, every 2 years.
The 7 months getting there, you know, obviously in so many science fiction films, there's like a cryogenic sleep chamber or some form of hibernation. Would you guys have that, or are you just going to white knuckle it in a small capsule, thoroughly conscious?
Well, what we know right now, based on the Mars One's information for us, that we will be awake, that we will be, of course, eating and then getting to know each other, and then that 7 months void, and that transit time. But there are speculations. We've researched that NASA's studying this called torpor. It's called torpor, where they do. Have you heard of that? Torpor
and they
process.
Reduce your body.
Temperature.
Yes.
They give you a coolant through nasal, and then it reduces your body temperatures per degree, or they induce you with chemically induce you. But remember, they used this in trauma patients before. They used this in animals' hibernation process, but this has only has been working for 7 days. They can only prove to have this work for 7 days, but not. I mean, we're going to be 210 days within the transit, so it's still being tested. But right now, it's speculation. Hopefully, that if it's proven that it's it's safe for us to use, that maybe Mars One will keep in consideration. We have 10 more years.
Oh, that's right. One of the interesting things I also read about the teams, because this is a little bit counterintuitive. You might think that they are looking for the most capable individuals, which they would then put into a team and send. But the way I'm understanding it is actually you get separated into groups of 4, and 2 men and 2 women. And then what I read is that if anybody backs out or can't fulfill the training, the whole group is kind of ejected, and you would have to start over. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, that of course, that's the understanding. I mean, I think before we even get there, that's why we will get to know one another, and we will be that 100 candidate, which is, we're already doing that now. We're already giving each other introduction and seeing what we like, what we don't like. And I think that's the most vital things, is getting to know one another. And when you are selected to be in that group, that is who they think as the founders of Mars One. I mean, there's going to be a major role here for psychological advisors to look into, because this is going to be their choice. Of course, this is their investment, and they're going to make sure to partner you up with who they think you belong to. I mean, not belong to, but who you are getting along with, and based on like group work, group training. That's what's going to happen. And if that one person backs out, which is kind of, it's kind of...
It would be awful.
Yeah, exactly, because then... And I think they'll be able to know that beforehand, that this person she might back out, or there's going to be some testing that they're going to... I'm sure Mars One will come up with some type of, questions, or... Like, again, we're not like the for sure 100 people that's going to be separated in 4. There's more prior testing that we'll do before we proceed with the 4 people... 7 years training.
What's the timetable on that? What's the next level of the culling of the group into the 24-15? How long is that going to take?
Right now, they haven't released the dates yet on when are we gonna, but I know for a fact it's not a big gap because I believe it's sometime around the end of this year. But again, I can't quote that yet because there's still, of course, there's definitely focusing, Mars One is focusing on sponsorship right now, marketing and things like that. So there's not a definite date, but we will definitely get that information very soon.
And then I understand that there's going to be immediately a second round for yet another group immediely following that.
There's already a second round, yeah. It's already open for application process. Everybody's already applying. And yeah, so those guys that didn't make it to the 100 finalists, they're able to apply again. So
let me ask you this. You've invested a lot into this in a mental and spiritual way. I mean, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You signed up. You've made it this far. If you don't make the cut, would you sign up again? No, because I mean, I mean, it's not like, oh, I had my chance. I know there's so many people out there that want to have this opportunity, and I'm going to give them that room because, you know, if I didn't make it to the first, then maybe there is something that, you know, that's not what they're looking for, or, you know, it's not a fit. But there's many more people out there. There's 200,000 applicants that sign up for this program, and I'm so happy just to be a part of it and being able to have this experience, you know. So I will give them that chance. I will give, you know, I had my chance. I'll give the other candidates that chance to sign up. I get it.
I think that's important.
The fact that we are even discussing putting man on Mars, in my opinion, it's about time. This is 2015. This is what we expected in the 21st century. What I think people did not expect is that this would be the possible product of private enterprise. This is not the consortium of foreign governments. This is not a government-sponsored agency. Does it surprise you that it's taking private enterprise to try to do this first?
No, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, let's talk about, talking about experience working with, like, let's say, for example, SpaceX. I mean, you know, NASA
I'm a big fan.
Yes, big fan of Elon Musk. Me too. Yeah. And like, let's just say SpaceX. I mean, they're one of the first private companies that actually created a rocket and launched to International Space Station, and successfully. And my materials is part of that in 2010. And then even in one of his conferences, he mentioned that he wants to reuse rockets. I mean, so it's not like, you know, when you're going on a plane and then once you land in Chicago, it explodes. No, that's not how we should think. We should think about reusable. Let's make it, you know, cut back on cost.
Certainly.
And something much more efficient for the technology being advanced. I mean, we're talking about being advanced, right? So I feel that a lot of private companies have this goal that's just pushing through the barriers and making things happen. And I see this every day, so whether if it's in space, in health industry, or in commercial industry. We're always trying to make things different. And as a private company myself, I mean, I sell materials to all those programs, industries, and I see that. Mars One is another private company that's willing to do this. They want to be the first one to put humans on Mars. One-way ticket. So whether it's a one-way ticket or, you know, back and forth, it doesn't matter. It's just that they have a mission to accomplish, and being the first pioneers to do that, or being the first entrepreneurs and visionaries to do that, to me is like, you know, why not? You know, and I feel like they can be creative.
Yes.
By working on their own, they can step outside the box and fund their own company and fund their own mission and program.
The cost of this mission and the estimated date that hopefully people will set foot on Mars is 2015 at a cost of $6 billion. $6 billion sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But in the scheme of things, is it that much money? I mean, I believe that a B-1 bomber or technology like that is probably about $1 billion. So the idea that private enterprise is going to try to do this and raise $6 billion, I applaud them, because there's certainly been plenty of critics who've said, well, you don't have all the funding, your timetable's off. But I admire people who are innovative, who are brave enough. Someone has to be first.
Yes.
Someone has to make that step. We are going to Mars, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's in the next 10 years or after that, but we are going to Mars. It is inevitable, and this woman may be one of the people doing that. There were so many things I was going to ask you. The 7 months in the capsule still blows my mind, because I get claustrophobic. But
it's a lot of singing and kumbaya in there. Right?
Yeah, lots of hand holding, I suppose. A team of 4. You're going to Mars. You're not coming back, so obviously it seems like everyone needs a lot of skills. And certainly the 7 years that you would spend in training is to enrich you and help you gain additional skills, whether they be medical, engineering, agriculture, whatever they are.
School again, yep.
Yeah. So, but let me ask you, just right now, what are the traits that you think you have? What are the skills that make you a very strong candidate for this mission at this moment?
First thing that I want to just say that all the candidates have a really great qualifications and credibility to do this mission. And I feel like what I offer on the table is my life experience and my knowledge. I mean, I will give this everything that I have, that I've known, and from starting from moving from Philippines to here, I've had my experience of just basically adapting to environment that I'm not used to, and then also as well what I've learned through just working and starting a company from scratch to now a very successful company. And all those informations that I've gathered, and I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to be able to learn and go have the 7 years training and learn about the technical, troubleshooting and group training. I want to offer what I have to my teams, whatever I can give, and also acquire some knowledge that I can from them and support one another. And I think that's the key, is like the support of one another. Because like I said, we are able to learn this. We can learn things. We are going to be trained. But the thing is like, are you going to be able to support one another through that times? Are you going to be the one that if there's no food, you're going to run off? Right. And, I mean, there's definitely a lot of mental and psychological questions here. And I know I can provide that. I can provide that, not just leadership, but teamwork. And I can be able to make everyone, like with my knowledge, hey, maybe I can cook better or something, sure. Or I can plan. But again, like I said, it's all teamwork.
Are you in communication with the other candidates?
Yes, we're all in a group, Facebook. Yep. What is that called? Facebook thing.
You have a Facebook page.
Yeah, Facebook page where all of us.
For Mars One candidates.
For Mars One candidate.
Please like it.
And we're definitely in everyday communication, and especially if we have a question like, what books do you like to read, or who snores the loudest? I did say that. Like, who snores the loudest here? Right. But those are the things that you don't think of when you're here, because you have it every day, and once you're there, I feel like it's the appreciation that you would miss about Earth, What is your expectation of Mars?
Listen, I know you are a very successful, very intelligent woman. I know you've done your homework. You know it's very cold. It's a barren place. But what is your expectation of going there? First of all, let me just say, this is an incredibly profound thing that we're talking about here. You are going to get into a rocket, fly through the solar system to the red planet. We have not been on a foreign body since '72, which is a shame. So I commend you for wanting to do this, but what do you, in your heart, what are you expecting about Mars and this prospect of living there for the rest of your life? What goes through your mind on this?
Well, of course, we all fear, I talk for me and all the candidates, we all fear of the risk and challenges that we will face once we get there. And thinking about the dust storms and all the radiation effect and bone deterioration. But I know for a fact that we will be, those we accept, and we'll be in training for those, like technical solution, but the biological aspect of things. But what that I see my life being there is survival. survival. We're going to have to make sure that we create a platform for the other colonizers when they come in every 2 years. So we're going to have to set that foundation. And that's how our life is going to be. Research and development and making sure that we survive. That's the key. And that's why we're going to make sure that we learn everything that we can while we're here. And it's not like we're just going to get dropped off there,
right.
Run around. But we're going to have to survive. And that's what, I fear every day. But, I mean, everywhere you go that's unknown, it's like endless possibility. You don't know what it's going to be. Everything has its own unique beauties or maybe that's something bad, but yeah, we have to survive.
One question that crossed my mind, when they are planning where you're going to land, and I know they're going to send rovers ahead. One of the things that crossed my mind, I'm sure you saw about a week or so ago, the study that came out that proved essentially that Mars was once a planet with a lot of water. I believe it covered 1/5 of the surface area of Mars. Now, there is still ice on the poles on Mars. So I guess one of my questions is like, why not land close to the ice where you have definite amounts of water?
Well, because of course we're gonna. That's something that's why we're gonna send in 2018 an unmanned kind of like a Phoenix-like lander to make sure that they find a way to where we can find a spot that where we can land. But that's a great question. Is why not closer to the ice caps? And
it's going to be cold either way.
Yes, definitely. And no matter what, even if you land in the equator or not, you're going to still have to find a way and figure out how are you going to acquire water. And that's something that is right. It's like something to talk about when it's there, when they're planning it out. And I'm pretty sure that Mars 1, once they send all the rovers there, they will be able to figure out where exactly we're going to be at. But right now, everything is changing. I mean, as maybe we improve in technology or something else, maybe collaboration of scientists and says, hey, maybe you should land closer to there. Maybe we have this new technology now that it's not going to be too cold or things like that. Things can change. It's not definite. It's not definite, so. Are
you privy to the technology that they're going to potentially use to find water? Have they explained that to you, how that works?
No, not yet. But, of course, vaporizing the water system and making sure that it's kind of like a microwave type thing. I'm not a scientist, so I'm just talking about like what I've seen, what I've researched, and that's something that they're definitely going to talk to us about.
I think the water's supposedly under the surface, right? Okay, all right.
So it's kind of like vaporizing the water.
Well, let's talk about the critics, of which they have been legion. I don't see it that way. There have been a lot of people who've criticized this program either for the feasibility, for the science, for the funding, for the timetable. In my mind, I think of the old saying, lead follower, get the hell out of the way. And I want to offer you the chance to give us your take on this. I mean, you are already in the aerospace industry. What do you say to the critics of Mars 1? Well,
I feel like skepticism is always a part of curiosity, of knowing the how and why and what's, and asking, being curious, period. And I feel that people have their own point of view, and my question is why not collaborate? Why not have the collaboration, and instead of putting 95% of everything that, you cannot do it, to put it into like, hey, let's help them do it. Let's gather all the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the scientists, and the medias even, and be positive about this mission. And I feel that we've been putting so much energy onto something that's not necessary. There's a lot of point of view. Let's prove it. Let's prove it by discussing it with one another. And I feel like this criticism had already affected so many people, candidates, and sometimes like I remember what one candidate said, if you're not going to let them, if they're not going to hear us out, then there's no point of answering, and just prove it, and just make it real, make it happen, and that's what I feel. Collaboration is the key, especially we're in this era that we are just waiting for that moment, and we've been stuck. We haven't, there's a lot of people, we haven't been back to the moon, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. There's a race to space going on right now. I don't know if anybody is aware of this. Right. And if Elon Musk is saying he can do it, and then Orbital Science and ATK is saying they can do it, or Sierra Nevada is saying they can do it, why not Mars One? I mean, I just don't know. And also another thing too, my question is, technical solution was they're looking for all the time too much oxygen we'll create and one module. The
MIT study.
Exactly. Let's look at the biological aspect of life. Let's find if there's living organisms out there. We haven't looked, every time I look at the media, there's really no talk about it. Like, we want to know, but if we're in planet where there's a lot of living organisms here, I know from another planet we'll find something. And why not let's focus on that and find out and put our energy there. And because the cycle, your elements, your intake of chemicals has to be regulated in balances. So with finding living organisms, right now we have what? Planet, humans, and bacteria. So why not focus our energy on that instead of like, hey, they can't do this.
Another question that people bring up about this, which I'm not fully on board with this idea, people talk about, is this ethical? Now, in my mind, if people train for this, they've signed up for this, they spend 7 years preparing themselves for it. And look at this young lady, obviously very intelligent, very successful. The ethics, listen, things are dangerous, and all progress through the past explores, there has always been an inherent risk. So the ethics question, I don't know if I think that we should be throwing that around so much. Listen, I'm not saying, yeah, hey, let's just go to Mars, we'll figure it out on the fly. But at the same time, I think a person like yourself, and I think the people who are agreeing to be part of this, you understand the risks that are involved.
Yes, and I feel that, I was in my Facebook page, and of course, people are telling me like, Earth, you were born here, just stay here, like you die here. That's unethical. Or maybe like, hey, I get some messages like, oh, you're gonna do suicidal mission. Key is this, I can wake up and something had fallen on top of me. Or, or just walking outside, anything can happen. And to me, it's like, yes, of course it's ethical if the volunteers are okay with it.
That's what I think.
We volunteer, we know the risks and challenges that we would encounter. And I feel that, what is, like this one candidate, she mentioned, everybody dies. But the most important thing is, what do you do before you die? What is your purpose in life? What's your premise? What's the plot of your story while you were living? Are you the one that's just gonna relax and enjoy and just, okay, they're doing this and this and that? Or are you gonna be the one that wants to step foot on Mars and be a pioneer? I want to be the other way. I want to be that person that I want my children's children, or, I don't have a children, but I want like my family and the next generation of humanity to be there and for a backup plan in case something happens and to our Earth. And especially whatever we're doing right now to our Earth, it's not, it's not very
conducive to the future.
Yes.
A lot of people have mentioned, including Stephen Hawking, that our ultimate destiny does lie within the stars. So if that is the case, and it's hard to argue with, then you have to start somewhere. And Mars One is a place to start. You mentioned your brothers and your family. So I have to ask you what I'm sure everyone asks you. How is your family, are they just flipping out?
Of course, yes, especially my dad in the Philippines. It's like, what? My friends and families, they always known that I'm the type of person that's a risk taker. And as challenges arises, I've always overcome, and I've always found a solution. Well, maybe like, 80%, 90%. But, throughout my life, I've been that person. And so they're not surprised. They're just like, they support me, they love me. No matter what, they can't like disown me, right? Like, I don't know her anymore, she's a Martian. But, they support me. No matter what I do, they'll love me. and I love them too. So.
Well, of course they're going to love you. Absolutely. They're just going to miss you.
Yes.
It's funny. You referred to yourself as a Martian, and I've heard some people using the word Marstronaut.
Marstronaut, yes.
And it's funny. I mean, but that's true. I mean, if you go, almost certainly, not 100%, but most certainly you're probably not coming back. And that's part of why this trip may actually be successful, is because it does not require the technology to relaunch from Mars and come back. So yes, in fact, you would be one of the first settlers of Mars, which in fact makes you a Martian.
Yes, definitely. And you know, there's no looking back. Like once you, like what Bass said, Lancelot, the founder, he's like, once you push that button, there's no like, oh my gosh, take it back. I'm coming back home.
And leave LA.
I know, the beauty. I'm gonna miss it, definitely. But it doesn't discourage me from going.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like I said, it's just the pushing the barrier and knowing the endless possibility. Being curious, human being that's really curious about things and just wanting to know the endless possibility of life and what's after that and what's beyond. That's, to me, is an exciting venture. You know?
There was an article this week, I don't know if you saw it, but it was in the New Zealand Herald, I believe. Anyway, it was a man who was predicting the first trillionaire within 20 years. And the first trillionaire would most likely be related to space industry. You are an entrepreneur. You are a risk taker. What do you think of that?
Well, hey, let the best man win. Hey, that's good.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's interesting.
I mean, you mentioned extreme possibility.
Yes.
And so instead of looking at this for all of the trepidation or negative possibilities, look at the, hey, let's get real. There's some fiscal upside here as well, potentially. Interestingly enough, though, you being the CEO of a company dealing in metals and alloys for the aerospace industry, if you go to Mars, then you leave your company with your team. It's just interesting because what if you go to Mars and the company blows up in a good way? You know, it's like,
I wish I'm home.
Yeah, you're this very successful person, but you live on Mars.
Well, I mean, I'm leaving the company in great hands of my employees, and I really trust in them, and I'm really proud of them and wherever we're at right now. And you know, I'm, like I said, like I'll be the CEO from far, far away and just like, hey, did you guys deliver that on time? But you know, I just want to make sure I'm happy. And you know, I mean, I feel fortunate. There's definitely other candidates there that, hey, if that 7 years training, they don't get to pass, they go back to, you know, what? I could just go back to work and pick up where I left off. So that's why if you go back to the other question, like what you said, give this opportunity to someone else, I'll definitely will give this opportunity to someone else to come. And because, you know, I have a place to go back. But if I do make it, I'm sure they're proud of me, and I know the company's going to prosper.
Sure.
So,
if you could go to any planet other than Mars within the solar system, where else would you like to go? Or a moon?
Not the jovial planets, because that's just a bunch of liquids.
Right. But the moons around them are interesting. Ganymede,
yeah,
Leo.
that one would be nice. And also, I heard, I mean, the IO is definitely one of a prosper planet out there. But I mean, I'll go back to Earth.
Are you a big science fiction fan? Are you interested in the possibility of life beyond on Earth? I mean,
yes. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's just been, I didn't grow up as a science fiction fanatic, I'm going to be honest, but like I said, I was drawn into this because of what I see and how I see the whole raw materials being produced into its end use. And I have the appreciation for the advanced technology that's, you know, that we have right now. And that's why I've always been curious in how things and how technology can definitely bring to something that's a dead planet. I mean, not dead planet, but a red planet in another place.
The reason I ask that is I've always been inspired by space, and so I am very pleased that you came on the show today to talk about this, because to me it's inspiring. And listen, I mean, growing up, you know, we thought, well, I get the Apple Watch comes out today, so it's like, you know, you're expecting the future. It's 2015, and the only thing that looks like the future is an iPhone. We can do better. We should be going to Mars, and this is a plan that's on the table. And I think part of the reason that people don't like it is because a guy from the Netherlands, private industry, is the first to the table with a plan. So
thank you so much.
You know what? I thank you. I wish you the best. I think it's great, and I really appreciate you stopping by.
Question for you, would you go?
That's a great question. I know that the owner, or the founder of the company, he says that's one of the most popular questions, and I'll be honest, I'm a dad. I've got kids, you know, and I'm a husband. The not coming back part is difficult for me to roll with. But I will say this, you're young. And I foresee the possibility that this isn't a one-way trip.
Unless Bronson create those, you know, galactic, right?
Well,
like the one that's going to just orbit and say, hey guys, let's go.
well, I'm just thinking, I mean, listen, you are a young woman.
Yes.
I think it is possible. It's not outside the realm of possibility that, yes, you go up there thinking it's a one-way trip, but listen, if we can go to Mars in 10 years, what can we do in 20 or 30? So I would just put it out there, maybe this is not ultimately a one-way trip, and perhaps you could come back. I understand that there's issues regarding the physical body in space, but in the back of my mind, I keep thinking it's possible that these people are not going up there for the remainder of their life.
Yes, we're going to just basically start a new generations out there and colonize it. And you know, one day, I mean, I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure that the colony will create some type of technology and that we'll be able to transit back. Some warp system.
One more question, because I have to ask you this, because a lot of people want to know this. Obviously, like there's guys right now probably watching the show, and they're like thinking, you know what? Hey, that whole Mars thing's not looking so bad. Families in Mars. I mean, you're a young woman. I mean, what is the policy regarding if you're going up there potentially for the rest of your life? I know what it is, but I want you to explain to the audience what the policy from Mars One is about having children on Mars and all of that.
Well, I for sure know that when we go there, we don't have the advanced technology to do it. I mean, we can, you know, we can have babies or pregnate ourselves, but it's not, it's kind of, we're not there to, I mean, we don't have the technology for that yet.
I understand.
Once we get there, and we're very limited to what we can do, and we can't even, like I said, it's all about survival first.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future, I mean,
like it seems inevitable.
Exactly. And it's like my focus right now. It's like far beyond that.
Sure.
I wanna go there and think about what we can do to build a platform and foundation. But I know for a fact, sooner or later, we're going to be thinking of that. And I'll be open to it if there's enough technology, resources. Yes, definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Jaymee Del Rosario. She is one of the 100 finalists for the Mars One mission to Mars, which is supposedly going to happen in 2025. You guys would leave, I think, in 2023 or 2024. So we wish you the best of luck, and the best of luck to Mars One in general. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to Lip TV on YouTube and LTV2 on YouTube as well. We now have a Facebook page. We are Antidote, so please look for that. Jaymee, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My name is Michael Parker. This has been Antidote, and until next week, remember, together we are the Antidote.